So, have you ever been left by a friend, a partner, your team, your friends? Have you ever looked around at the hardest moment in your life and suddenly realized that the people that you needed and counted on had abandoned you? They'd left you. Nobody was there. They were gone. So, this happened to me, and I did the next thing that almost cost me everything. Hi, this is Coach Sean, and I'm Coach Sean in your corner. Yesterday morning, I got to speak at a Christian business network breakfast, and they'd asked me to come and speak about my journey that my son and I went through when we first arrived in America. He was diagnosed, my youngest son, 19 years old. We arrived, and a month or and a half later, they diagnosed him with a cancerous tumor in his abdomen. For that was around June of 2018, and the next couple of months were a blur. It was just doctors, hospital, chemotherapy, surgery. It was a crazy time. And you can understand that as a dad, I struggled the most. So these men wanted to hear my story. I've written a book about it, and so I put the book out there, and I shared it previously at just off the cuff, and then they invited me to come back and speak to the businessmen about it. So I shared about it, and there's a lot in there, in the story, in the experience, in that journey that we had. A lot of different directions, different angles that I could take it. But one of those that I touched on yesterday was the fact that we got to a point where now the chemo had run its course, and we were in the oncology doctor's office, and he basically said, it's not made any difference. The surgery is going to be not quite what we thought it would, and we're hoping for a cure. At that point in time, I kind of fell apart. I'd been struggling up until then, but that was the point that was the tipping point for me emotionally. In my heart, I believed that he can have a miracle, that my son can live and survive this. I'd seen it before, and so I really believed that, but my emotions, my head was struggling. The unfortunate part was that incident, that moment coincided with my friends having a disagreement with me on a leadership issue, a local leadership issue. Now, to me, leadership is something that we can disagree on. It's not a problem. We go on. The relationship is not affected by a disagreement. I have a friend, he passed away at the end of last year, but we were friends for 46 years. Did we disagree on things? Definitely. Were we always happy with each other? No. But we never negotiated the relationship. As soon as I picked up the phone, he was available. When he picked up the phone, I was available. And he lived in another country in the world. But we walked out this journey together because our relationship was non-negotiable. We never abandoned each other. In this incident, after the oncology doctor's visit, I went into the darkest, most fearful, most lonely time of my life. It was a crisis. My son was busy dying, and they abandoned me when I needed them the most. They were my friends. I needed to lean on them. I needed to to process this. I needed their support, and they weren't there. They removed themselves from me and abandoned me in the midst of that situation. when when I spoke about this at the breakfast yesterday, a businessman put up his hands and he said, as a business leader, we have experienced this, not where you were, but in business, we've been abandoned and nobody talks about it. Nobody ever names it. Nobody ever shares about it. And so he said, I can relate to what you're talking about and how do you manage a time like that? So I basically said, well, there's two ways to manage it. One is you go out for revenge, you go out to hurt them. And the second way is that you retreat, you just withdraw. Neither of them are going to help you. He said, well, I think the solution is to act in kindness, to act in, don't do what to them what they did to you kind of thing, is to keep sowing kindness and forgiveness, and that will turn around for you. And I totally agree. I said, absolutely, I agree with that. However, I didn't do that. I must be honest. I was emotional. I was hurting just from all that was going on. I was tired, very tired. I was fighting a battle, not only with a disease, but between my head and my heart. My head, my emotions were a mess. I was falling apart. During the day, I was strong and coaching my son through this and supporting him. At night, I would fall on the floor and just cry because my heart was breaking and I couldn't do anything. I couldn't fix it. I couldn't do anything. The only thing I could do was believe God and trust God. And I did, but emotionally, I was not being strong, I can tell you. And so at night, I would just lay on the floor praying and crying, and just so that I would not show it during the day. But at that point in time, when we got to that oncology doctor, when we left there, that was the end of my strength. I lost it at that point in time. And what made it worse was this whole predicament that we were facing. And I became angry at first. So then I went and I thought, well, it's not going to help to be angry. So I went and confronted the issue. And they basically, couldn't admit that they were wrong. And I didn't look for admittance. I just wanted them to say, hey, we are in your corner. It's okay. Yeah, we disagreed, but it's fine. We're standing with you, and sorry that we weren't around, but we are here now. And they didn't. They kind of justified the position, and it's like, I don't need you to justify your leadership position. I just needed to know that you're my friends, that you abandoned me. It's like, over what? Over a position, over a title, over who has authority and doesn't have authority, who has the power and doesn't have the power. I don't care about those things. And in the light of what I was facing with my son, it was minuscule. But that's the thing, is like, when you face death, when you have faced death in the face, it changes your whole perspective. When you are fighting for your child's life, it changes everything. It changes the whole perspective of life. Your values change a lot. And what's important to others suddenly is not important to you. And this was not important to me. And I thought, how can this be important to you when I'm fighting for my child's life? How can that be important? But it obviously was. And I had to walk away from that table, and it was empty. It was an empty exercise, and I challenged it a little bit. Maybe I shouldn't have, but I was emotional. And I actually said to them, please forgive me, but I'm emotional right now, and I'm just angry. And they walked away. And from that day forward, they never, ever contacted me again. And you understand, we had just arrived in the country. We were new, and we were trying to just establish friends and a network and a community. And here we arrive, and we got to fight this life and death battle, and there's nobody except my own family. Obviously, my wife was there, my son and daughter-in-law were there, but other than that, you need your friends, man. You need your support system, and they weren't there. And so I basically, after that, I retreated, and for the next 7 years, I retreated. I just withdrew, and that's dangerous because when you retreat, you go into isolation, and isolation is like exile. You are a slave to what exiles you, and you're a slave to their opinions and what they did and how they did it, and all the rest of it. And only last year I decided this has got to end. I've got to break that captivity they have over my life. I forgive them, but I don't have to be reconciled to them, and I don't have to wish it was and wish the relationship was still there. It's over. They're gone. They're removed, and maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that's what needed to happen. Was room needed to be made for new people. And in the next 6 months since then, since I made the turnaround, I've made new friends, great friends, and my life is way better. I'm moving on to new things. I've written books, a lot more books, so life is kind of rosy now. It's taken on a whole new perspective for me. And at 65, turning 66, the last thing you need is to spend your last 20, 30 years, moping around, grieving, living in isolation, when you can be affecting and impacting and influencing other people's lives. So actually, when I heard this businessman yesterday, I thought, I've got to do a video on this. I've got to come and share this with you, because if you've ever been abandoned, and you know what it's like, then if you've been betrayed, if you've been disappointed by people, we all have, I reckon, in one form or fashion or another in life. If you haven't, then you have been living in a monastery, I suppose. But we've all been impacted by somebody's abandonment somewhere. But don't let it control your life. Don't let it define who you are. I did, and like I say, it nearly cost me everything. We came out of that situation with my son having a miracle, and he's alive today. He's engaged, has played sport, he works in healthcare. So all of that is like, it's such a positive. But when you're there, it doesn't look like it. It looks like your world is falling apart. And if I can talk to those, then if you're the kind of person that just feels like if somebody disagrees with you, it's a rejection of you, and it's not. Never go negotiate the relationship based upon what you agree or don't agree on. Today, it's too easy. We walk away through social media, we cancel people, we walk away, we reject people, we abandon them simply because we don't agree with them. Nothing is that important. Nothing is that important. The world will, all of this stuff will pass away. The world and its influence and its whatever it holds and its splendor will pass away. But the will of God is for us to keep our relationships, to honor our relationships. That's why He did it. He established a relationship by covenant with us forever. And that's my premise, is like, if He did it for me, then I'll do it for you. And so always honor the relationship first and foremost. It doesn't mean I have to be there all the time, visiting, and that's not what I'm talking about. It's just, don't abandon. If somebody needs your support, be there for them. Be there for them. Whether you agree or don't agree, be there for them. And if you've been abandoned, the pain of it. Don't go for revenge. It's going to cost you more than you can pay. And don't go for retreat, because that's also going to cost you. It cost me years of not having friends, just sitting here in a little room in front of a computer, trying to make my life something, and it doesn't work. Especially if you're a person that needs relationships, and I think we all do. I need relationships. We all need relationships anyway. So I just thought I'd come and share with you and say, hey, I I know how you feel. If you've been in that place that you've been abandoned by friends, by family, by peers, by teammates, by partners, business partners, whatever, um, I I understand. I know what it feels like, and I want to tell you is that you will get through it. You will come out on the other side. It's fine that they're gone. It's making room for new people in your life. They were never there for you in the first place. If they can leave that easily, it wasn't that important. But God will add people to your life who are important. It makes room for the important people. And is that the thing that I told my all three of my sons is that real friends, you'll have a lot of social acquaintances, you'll have a lot of uh, people that will work with you, etc. But real friends, committed, loyal, honorable friends of integrity, you'll have on one hand. You'll be able to count them on one hand. There's not many of them. There's not many that will be there through thick and thin, through floods and through the waters and through the fire. There's not many of them, but there are people that will be there for you. But I want to tell you is that I'm in your corner. This is Coach Sean, and I'm in your corner. Have a good one.